In this video, I want to share takeaways from my recent trekking trip to Armenia. In previous videos, I've talked about my trekking trip and I've covered highlights and my gear list and some preparation recommendations. But in this video, I want to focus on lessons learned. I think these will be helpful to you if you are thinking about trekking through Armenia or really any place. I think these are generally applicable to trekking in general. So before I begin, I do want to emphasize or highlight this picture here. This is a picture that I took of Mount Ararat. So I'm in Armenia. I'm taking this picture from a very well-known angle. There's a very famous church here near the base of the mountain. So Mount Ararat is in the country of Turkey, but for many years it was in Armenia. And so you can see the large peak of Mount Ararat. This is nearly 17,000 feet in elevation. It's absolutely gargantuan. And here is the smaller peak of Mount Ararat. So this is the famous mountain where Noah and his family landed in the ark after the flood, as the book of Genesis records. So it is absolutely amazing, stunning. It dominates the view of Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. But you really do need a clear day to see all of the mountain because it is just so big and the clouds oftentimes obscure the top of the mountain. Okay, so my number one takeaway from my trekking trip to Armenia is that shoes are the most critical tool of an enjoyable trek. Now, I've already talked about in previous videos on my channel, Moving Ship, the importance of really testing out and breaking in your shoes. The point is that shoes, if there are issues with them, can cause foot issues, and that's a nightmare on a trek. So you definitely want to make sure that you are getting the right shoes for your trek and that they are ready to go. Okay, wool socks protect against blisters. So I have wool socks right here. I took 5 of them. These are high quality wool socks from LL Bean. They were very comfortable, and I was able to rewear each of these a few days, so I didn't have to take many of them. So wool socks protect against hot spots and blisters. You definitely do not want to wear cotton socks or any other fabric. You want to wear wool socks on a hike. I did very well, didn't have any blister issues with these socks in Armenia. Okay, make sure your sleeping bag is rated for expected nighttime temperatures. So you need to check what the temperature range is going to be in the location where you are hiking. I checked to understand what the temperature was going to be where I was hiking, specifically at night what the temperatures were going to be, so that I could get a sleeping bag rated for that temperature. Now, I did mention that I ended up taking a summer sleeping bag because I needed a smaller bag, sleeping bag for my pack. This turned out not to be a good idea at all. I was really cold at night, so make sure that you know the temperature and get a sleeping bag that is rated for that temperature. That will help you to sleep well in a tent outdoors. Take and use a sleeping pad. This will also help with the temperature, but this also helps with comfort. I took an air sleeping pad. This blew up through another bag which I could roll up and get air into the sleeping pad. This was very comfortable. It was very small, and so it helped keep me somewhat warm. I think I would have been colder without it. And it also was very easy to pack. It was very light, again, because it's an air sleeping bag and I can deflate it and it wraps up really small. I did at first get a foam pad, but it was just way too big. If you do decide to go with a foam pad, you're probably going to have to hook it up to the outside of your pack. And people do that, but if you want something smaller, I would recommend a air pad here, an air sleeping pad. Okay, so one night I decided to try to sleep with just my sleeping bag in the tent without the sleeping pad, but that was a mistake. I had to get up early in the morning because I just kept waking up. The ground was way too hard, and I had to inflate my sleeping pad. So that showed me that sleeping pads are important, especially if you are not used to sleeping on the hard ground. Keep your legs and feet strong. This is really important. My tour guide, my trekking leader, is a very strong person. He works out a lot. He has very strong legs. He weightlifts. So you could tell he was in shape and he was moving very quickly. So the problem with not being in shape or not having strong legs, not preparing for a trek, is that it's just going to be harder. So the stronger your legs are, the more in shape you are, the more likely you're going to have an enjoyable trek, even if you are trekking up a mountain or trekking a long ways. So one way that you can prepare your legs for a trek is to walk up and down a hill. This is something that I do. Another way is to do some weightlifting. If you are older, you might want to consider deadlifts and squats. Now, you need to make sure that you don't do too much weight and that you use proper form. But if you do that, squats and deadlifts can really help your legs get strong, and that is very important for life in general, but also certainly for a trek. Wear sun-blocking hat and clothing. So I brought a couple of hats here. You can see that I have on a baseball cap or just a normal hat. I also brought a special sun-blocking hat. This has a very wide brim and a flap to protect my neck and ears. So these are really important. It's also important to bring long sleeves and long pants so that you can protect your skin from the sun. One day I was hiking. You can see me out here. It got a little bit sunny. I didn't have my big hat on or long sleeves, so I did get a little bit too much sun, and I also think I got some heat exhaustion. I just got really tired, and so you want to watch out for that. Long clothes and a proper hat can help you to stay cool and to prevent heat exhaustion, certainly heat stroke. Now, this is not a guarantee, but long sleeves and, again, hats can really help. So I do recommend thinking through this. Okay, take a rain jacket and quick dry clothing. So it rained a lot in Armenia. I went in May. I was expecting the rain, so I brought a nice L.O. Bean rain jacket. This was really great. It had a hood. Even with a lot of rain, and even when I was outdoors a lot in the rain, this kept me very warm and dry. It's very wet on the outside, but it kept me dry, and so that was great. I also took quick dry, very comfortable, loose-fitting hiking pants, and so they did get wet, but that was not too much of an issue, and they dried very quickly. Okay, take a gastrointestinal product. So this is super important. When you are trekking really anywhere, you never know. You might get some sort of stomach or intestinal issue. Maybe something you eat or drink just doesn't quite agree with you, even if you're using maybe a filter. This can happen. So it's important to have some sort of a gastrointestinal product that can help you not have a problem or overcome a problem that you are facing. I use Dr. Schultz. This is a great product. It's an all-natural product. It seems to work really well, and so I do recommend Dr. Schultz. But the bottom line is have something with you just in case you start not to feel so well. Okay, get a backpack with a waist strap. So you can see my big pack here. I have shoulder straps. Do have a chest strap, but I have a really big waist strap here. So lumbar support, really comfortable padded waist strap. This is important because if you have a very heavy pack on a long trek, if you just have shoulder pads or shoulder straps here, that is going to get really heavy, and those are going to start to dig into your shoulders, and you are not going to be very comfortable. You're not going to be a happy camper, as they say. So if you have a big waist strap, this is going to help to distribute the weight of the pack around your body. So I had a very heavy pack, 45 pounds, but it was very comfortable overall. Again, because I think it was this waist strap. It kept a lot of the weight off my shoulders. So I do recommend having something like this. A funny story, at least funny right now, my trek leader said that when he was a lot younger, he was training in the military, he had a very heavy pack on, and he just had shoulder straps, and it was so heavy that it actually, as he was hiking for a long time, the pack was so heavy that it made him a little bit shorter. He lost some height. So if you do not want to lose height, you definitely want to get a pack that distributes the weight around your body. Now, he eventually regained some of his height, but he does attribute that issue to just having shoulder straps and no waist strap. Okay, document your trek experience during or immediately after your trip. Share highlights with your family and friends. This is just fun, but this is kind of a word to the wise here because, I've gone on a lot of trips in the past, and there have been trips that I didn't properly document my experience. I didn't properly document the photos that I was taking, so I don't remember where I took those photos. So if you want to remember where you took photos, and if you want to remember the highlights of your trip, the good experiences that maybe you want to share, it's really important to document those things during your trip, maybe each evening, or immediately after your trip when your memory is fresh. This is really important. And I also recommend sharing the highlights of your trip with your family and friends. So I did create a video just a little bit ago. It's Armenia Trek highlights video. And so it goes through the highlights of my trip and a lot of the good photos. And I've shared this with family. And I'm also sharing it with friends and my students. So this is a really, I think, good idea. You could do something like this for a trek that you go on or a trip that you go on. You could create a screencast video sharing the top highlights of your trip. It's a good way for you to remember the trip and also to share it with others. Okay, try to walk away with one good idea. So what am I talking about here? Well, when you go on a trek or a trip, that is a completely new experience. And you're out of your comfort zone, you're doing different things. There's a good chance, if you pay attention, that you're going to come up with a good idea. Maybe an idea that will help you or help someone else. Maybe an idea for a future career, a future job. Or maybe if you're working a job right now, maybe if you're in a certain career and you're interested in a certain career path, maybe you'll get an idea to improve in the direction that you want to go. So I got all kinds of ideas from this trip. I got book ideas that I am planning to read. When I was in the government center of Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, I was watching this really cool fountain and light show. And I had a great conversation with the trekking leader. He is a journalist, a war correspondent, and he does a lot of video work. And so he shared some very interesting and very wise advice about his profession. And he gave me a lot of really good ideas. I also talked to the people on my trip. I asked what they were up to, what kind of careers they had, what jobs they had, and we had some interesting conversations. So be open, try to get at least one good idea, and you never know, it might really help you, and you might be able to help other people through that idea. Here is a picture, a really beautiful picture called American Shipping Off the Rock of Gibraltar, 1873, by Ivan Ivazovsky. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but the point is, after my trip, I was trying to find a picture of a ship for my YouTube channel, and I came across this picture, and I started reading about the painter, and I found out that he was an Armenian guy, and he painted over 6,000 paintings, and he's considered one of the greatest painters of ships and the ocean of all time. And he's actually featured on the $20,000 Armenian bill. Now that, at the time of this recording, is that's about 50 American dollars or so, I believe, something like that. And so he, really well known, really famous guy. And so the point is that I plan to study more about this painter and maybe do some videos about his work and share them with others. So that's an example of an idea that came from my trip. So be attentive. You never know, you might come up with a really good idea. Okay, so what are your trip takeaways? If you've been on a trip recently, or if you've gone on a trekking trip, or if you're about to, Is there a takeaway that you can share? If so, please consider commenting below this video. And also, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Moving Ship. There's more coming, certainly about Armenia and many other topics as well that I plan on doing videos about that I hope will be helpful and interesting to you. So thanks for watching. I will talk with you soon.